Alright, here's our basic debris hut. And so I have my students build small scale, just like an architect will build small scale structures. I have my students do the same thing. And that allows them to test out their design before they put a lot of effort into something. So what we have is, this is representing the tree that has wire, or you can take a big log, put it into the ground, and then we have a really huge ridge pole because it's got to bear all the weight. And then we made a skeletal frame scaffolding along the side all the way down. And what we're going to do from here is cover it up with brush. So I'm going to use the sawdust to represent leaves. You've also got to remember, and this is something I remind my students, is if you're using green leaves versus dry leaves, or green brush versus dry brush, it's going to weigh more. It may be all you have. I like to use dry because this is not a shelter that you're going to build a fire in. And so you can get scale by measuring the size of this out. Let's just say 6-foot person goes in there, and they can scale it out by putting a stick to represent the person to see if they'll fit. So that would be 6 inches for the person, and they can scale it out from there. So every inch is a foot. So I'm going to go ahead and cover this up, and I want to get 2 to 3 inches of brush, just like it would be 2 to 3 feet of brush. Start at the base and then build up. Normally what I do is, if I have a jacket, I lay it out. Obviously, if you had a tarp, you would use the tarp for the shelter. And I would make a different type of shelter. But if you've got a jacket and this material is not wet, it's not going to get your jacket wet, you can fill it up and dump it on there. Or find something that you can use as a scoop. But that gives you a rough idea of how I teach this in class. And once they have a good plan, they can go scale it up and have an idea that it's working. And so now I'm just going to do this other side, and then I'll show you the final product here in a little bit. And I'll break it down so that you can see all the major components. Now we've got both sides covered. So we've got the shelter covered up. And if you look in there, the skeletal framework kept the brush off or out. You would want to cover the bottom with dry brush so that it insulates you from the ground, because most of your heat loss is going to be from the ground. But now we're also protected from the wind. It's not a shelter that you would want to build a fire in, but it is a quick and fast shelter that you can build if you don't have a lot of time. And it doesn't take as much effort as some other shelters. You may not have a saw, you may not have a machete, so a lot of this stuff you can just find on the ground and just start stacking it up. It's a debris sleeping bag. It's like a big nest. That's what this one's designed for.